What's hot at Vegas at CES 2019? Vertical Hold, Behind the Tech News, is proudly brought to you by Belkin. Welcome to Vertical Hold, Behind the Tech News, where we channel surf through the headlines in search of the big picture. I'm Adam Turner, and this week we've taken the show on a Vegas road trip to the giant Consumer Electronics Show. Later we'll have a chat to our sponsor Belkin about what they've got on at CES, but first up we have three great guests. Firstly, we have appliance retailer deputy editor Emily Bensick. Emily, welcome to the show.
Hi Adam, great to be here.
Next we've got PC World Australia editor Fergus Halliday. Fergus, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
And finally, we've got Aussie freelance tech writer Jeff Quattromani. Jeff, welcome to Vertical Hold.
Thank you. Welcome to Vegas.
It's been a big week. We're a couple of days in. I think we're all a little bit unsteady on our feet and short of sleep at this point. Emily, what have you seen so far at the show that's really jumped out at you?
I would say the LG rollable TV would be a highlight for me.
So when you say rollable TV, well, I think rollable TV, I think rolling it up like a cigarette, like, pass it to the left sort of thing. What do you mean by a rollable TV?
So it is a little bit like that, except it's something that's hidden from your view, so it actually rolls up in the TV stand itself. So rather than you physically taking the screen and rolling it up yourself, it does it for you by the push of a button. So when you're watching TV in full view mode, you can watch your favourite TV show, your favourite movie, but then if you want to go relax somewhere else but still want some background music, you can press the button to allow the screen to move down to either line view, which will also show the weather or the clock or any other sort of information that you'd like. And then after line view, you can then move it down to zero view. And then from there, you can still play sound. So if you want to listen to your favorite track on Spotify, you can do that, and the screen is no longer there.
So, but you don't actually see the TV curl up, do you? It sort of retracts and it comes out straight, yes. And then when you retract it, it goes back down and it curls up inside the base.
That's exactly right. So it's not in your view, it's all done under the hood.
So is this an amazing breakthrough or kind of ludicrous?
I would say it's a pretty amazing breakthrough. I think it's something that we haven't really seen before. So yeah, to be honest, for me, it's quite an exciting product.
Fergus, breakthrough or novelty?
It could, both. I mean, it is a really impressive technical feat that they've gone and made a TV that rolls up. And it's something that you haven't necessarily seen before unless you saw it behind closed doors last year. And I think that even if it is a novelty, it's something different. I think that will probably resonate with a lot of customers.
Jeff, you're a man who likes his gadgets. Is there room for one of these in your man cave?
Look, I think it works if you've got something behind the TV that you actually want to see. Yeah. For me, where my television is in the lounge room, there's a painted wall. So if it rolled up, I have a plain wall then to look at. So if I had a view of the beach that the TV was blocking, then yeah, rollable TV makes sense. So not for me though.
And the demo videos they showed were people who lived in disgustingly beautiful houses and had skyline views of New York, or there was one where someone had one next to their swimming pool. If I had one of these things, which I'm guessing is going to cost north of 20 grand in Australia, it's not going to be living by the pool, I can tell you that. So Fergus, what else have you seen on the show that's grabbed your fancy?
Well, I've actually just come out of Sony's, I believe, I'm forgetting the full name, but it's basically 3D audio, and it's sort of a new technology they're sort of showcasing at CES this year, where they've sort of remastered audio tracks to use this sort of positional audio, and the demo for it is absolutely brilliant, where they take you into this soundproofed room, they sit you down, you're surrounded by an array of 13 different speakers that have been sort of programmed to play the different parts of a music track, so you get the full directional audio experience from 13 different speakers. Then they go and they put the new headphones on, and then they play it again, and it sounds unbelievably close, or even identical or better than having that directional audio. You listen to it the second time, and then you take off your headphones halfway through the track, and it's unbelievable that they can simulate it so well. And while that's at the moment it's very prototype, show it to the public stage, rather than a consumer-ready product, it'll be really interesting to see how they incorporate that into their headphone products, given how good they're already doing in that space. Stuff like the WH-1000X noise-canceling headphones, if they had this technology in them, That would be amazing.
So how do they get it to work? Do they have multiple speakers in each earbud? Or, are they earbuds or are they full over the top?
They're full over-ear headphones. In the demo, they basically had a bunch of microphones they used to map your ear canals, but they say that the full consumer-ready product will have that built into the headset itself, and you'll just run a calibration test using an app. But it seems super simple. And it sounded amazing, and it's just going to be very interesting to see if they can actually successfully do the 3D audio thing that everyone seems to be trying to get to take off, but no one's really been successful at. But of all the different spatial 3D audio things I've messed with at CES in the last couple months, in general, I thought it was by far the most impressive. And then the other thing that really impressed me was I had a quick look at the Royal FlexPi, I believe it's called, and Royal is a not super well known in Australia, but they've done a few things in the US and in the consumer electronic space at large. But this is their first smartphone, and it's a full-on foldable phone, a bit similar to the one that Samsung's been talking up lately. And it's kind of rough, and it's kind of running out like the version of Android it runs on is ill-suited for a display that transitions from a traditional, I think, 6.2 inch LCD like front-facing one to a larger tablet-style display. It's kind of janky, like apps don't necessarily work. Sometimes there's multiple drawers, and it freaks out a bit. But it's just marvelous to have a screen that you can actually fold up. It's not a product that will come to Australia or one that maybe you should even import even if you are really hyped on the idea of foldable phones. But it's super cool to just see that other companies that aren't just Samsung are moving in this direction and have this technology.
How big is the screen when it folds out?
I'm blanking, but I believe it's like 9 or 10 inches or something about that. Standard like iPad tablet size.
So Emily, we've been talking about foldable phones and foldable things for so long. Do people actually want this, and how do you think they'll use it?
That's a really good question. To be honest, I think there is definitely space for it, but whether it ends up being a fad similar to something like 3D TV is yet to be seen. So I guess I think it's a bit of a wait-and-see sort of project. At this point, I can't really say whether it has a future that is going to last, 10, 20, 30 years. It could definitely be something that, only stays around for a year or two and then everyone decides to go back to the flat screen. Who knows?
Now, 3D TV is always the great example of the thing that they pushed as being so amazing and everyone just went, meh, and in the end they stopped even building it into the TVs. 3D sound, while it sounds like it needs a headphone, do you think there's maybe more room and even demand for that than 3D TV?
I would say so, especially with consumers on the go for a lot of part of the day, travelling to work. So I think this experience, which I actually also went along to, is quite amazing and something that, again, we haven't really seen before.
Yeah. So Jeff, you've put in a few miles this week like the rest of us, walking up and down the aisles. Yep. What have you seen that's worth talking about?
Look, I think the rollable screen is one of my favourites, but I'll go a bit different. I'm taking the folding concept. I saw the Foldymate, which is an appliance that you feed your laundry into, and it folds your t-shirts up, folds your button-up shirts, polos, pillowcases, and actually does it this time. It was here last year and it didn't work. It just took the shirt and dumped it.
Well, it just ripped holes in it.
Yeah, it just tore it apart and you've got a shredded shirt. But now, when you open the bottom drawer, after really a matter of seconds, you've got folded laundry. And I hate folding clothes. I need one of these. It's about as big as a washing machine, so you need space and laundry for it. But I loved it.
But this is a first world problem. Like, this is like a super first world problem, is it not?
Just like the rollable screen, right?
Yeah.
Everything that we see here is, do we really need it?
Yeah.
No, but we just want it. It's all beautiful. And I think it's cool that someone's taken a chore and try and make it a robot instead.
How long do you think it will be before companies like Samsung and LG pick up on this like as a category if the quality of the experience is actually getting there?
I hope soon, right? And you would think that a company like these guys would just get bought by an LG. They'll just say, you know what, we're going to buy you out and we'll take that machine, put an LG badge on it, and we're done. Maybe.
So, Emily, is this the kind of thing that could be a new appliance category fitting inside, like with your laundry and that sort of stuff?
I would say so. I think the laundry category, probably for the past maybe 20, 30 years, hasn't really seen much change other than connectivity, being able to control it from a smartphone. But other than that, it's still doing the same thing as it was 30 years ago. So I think this could add another layer to the category. So again, yeah, a very exciting step forward. So hopefully, yeah, we will see that in Australia sometime soon.
I've just got a question though. If you're too lazy to fold your own laundry, then you probably don't bother to fold your own. Like I do my own washing, but I don't fold anything. Or if I wash a shirt, I hang it up in such a way that it will then dry and be flat and come up. So for me, this would be a total waste of time. I just wonder what is the market of people who insist that their clothes be folded, but aren't so OCD that they would do it themselves to make sure it's absolutely right.
That is very true.
I'm not sure if they've done their market research here.
Probably not. Again, could be a bit of a fad, but never know.
Right, well, let's take a break for a second and check in with Belkin, and then we'll come back and talk about the craziest things that we've seen on the CEREC floor. So we're here at CES 2019, and we've stopped by the Belkin stand to have a chat with our great Vertical Hold sponsor. I'm talking to Andrew Camber, who is Director of Product Management for Belkin. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Belkin's looking at doing more in audio this year.
Yeah, that's correct. We've actually been in audio the last 35 years in our history, and we've done audio in multiple ways, not the traditional sense like audio and speakers. We've done cables, FM transmitters, Bluetooth adapters, right? Most recently, the iPhone, about a couple years ago, removed the 3.5 jack, and that was a big opportunity for us. So we started coming out with these audio adapters. They're called Rockstar audio adapters. We have two versions.
I'm glad somebody's happy that they got rid of the headphone jack. I'm not, but I'm glad that somebody benefited from it.
Yeah, every time there's a major shift, it always it forces a change with consumers how they use technology. And with that, we had these adapters, Lightning Audio Rockstar adapters. They've been in market for now the last couple of years, and we saw this opportunity as the future progresses for technology. More and more phones will remove 3.5 jack, and this is what we've seen in the Android market as well as iPhone in the last couple models they've launched. So moving forward now, consumers have to either purchase a wireless headphone or use a dongle to plug in their existing Lightning headphones. So with this category, we've actually on the floor today we have a couple headphones on display, Lightning headphones, Lightning Rockstar headphones. We're also planning for this for USB-C, but it's really just driving, taking our success in the audio adapter market and adding sound. It was a natural fit for progression for Belkin.
And what sort of take-up are you seeing with USB-C in handheld devices, and what point do you think that might reach the tipping point where it becomes the predominant, Apple aside, obviously, it becomes the predominant connection?
Yeah, with USB-C, obviously, a lot of the major Android brands like Samsung, right, drive the market, and in many instances, they're actually, their sell-through or sell-to shipments far exceed Apple. So it's really going to take a big manufacturer like a Samsung. There's rumors of them next year or this year potentially doing that shift of removing 3.5. It has yet to be seen, but if that does happen, you're going to see a major shift in the USB-C world as well.
And so are you seeing, as they get rid of the 3.5mm headphone jack, people then have to make that decision, obviously, do I get the adapter or new corded headphones, or do I just go to Bluetooth? From what you've seen, which way do people tend to go?
It's funny. So people actually go both ways. Some people love the convenience of wireless. Some people actually would rather go wired because this is a very easy experience. You just plug and play. There is no relying on battery power, right? It just works. And from a price point perspective, going wired is actually a lot more affordable and easier for people to purchase into versus spending a couple $100 probably on a wireless headphone.
So apart from the earbuds, what else have you got on the stand this year?
Yeah, one of the major things we've been backing and pushing the last year is fast charging. This past keynote, Apple announced fast charging on their iPhones. Fast charging essentially is a technology that allows you to charge your phone if you had 0%, 50% in 30 minutes. So if you can imagine taking a shower, the night before you forgot to charge your phone, when you get out of the shower, done getting ready, in the 30 minutes, you have a 50% charge on your phone. So a lot of the new chargers that we have on the market, especially on our battery packs, we're starting to roll out 18-watt charging, which will allow you to get that fast charge in 30 minutes.
And is that for wireless charging as well, or just for cable connections?
Yeah, so to get the optimized fast charging, you need a PSU or a power adapter that supports fast charge, which in this case is 18 watt. You also need a cable. Apple also announced a Lightning to C cable, right, which they're going to be available in the market in this coming year and probably in the next 6 months. This cable allows you to do fast charging. So you need a Lightning to C cable though, and also your device. Your device also needs to accept a fast charge. So in having all three of these combined will allow you to have fast charging experience, which is only through a wired connection.
Belkin does the wireless charging as well.
Yeah, we do. We've actually had wireless charging pads for, I want to say, about almost 4 to 5 years now. It's obviously taking more prominence and more adoption because of the iPhones. But we do have a full assortment of wireless charging pads and stands. We also have incorporated this to our wearables, to our Apple Watch charger, our Boost Up wireless charging valet dock, which allows you to charge your iPhone and your Apple Watch, and plus a third device. The third device is wired, and then the phone and the watch is wirelessly.
Do you find, I would think a bit with like wireless headphones, if you've just got to charge one device, then it seems like a bit of an outlay to go up to wireless charging, but maybe when you've got 2 or 3 devices like a smartwatch, that's the tipping point where people get into it?
Yeah, you know, we've seen wireless as another option of how to charge. Really, the biggest positive about wireless charging is convenience. So you're really paying for the convenience of not having to plug a cable. I know it sounds very simple, but the instance of plugging in and on a cable to charge your phone can be tedious. Wireless removes that step, and you just place it on and it charges. Some people really gravitate towards the stand solution because you can actually use the phone while it's charging wirelessly. So it's really about convenience.
Well, that sounds great. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, so here we are at CES, and it's just insane the number of things you see that, as we said, first world problems. Jeff, what have you seen this week that you thought, oh my God?
Look, for me, I'm going to go with the LG Homebrew. I love a beer, but you know what? It's not easy to make your own beer. You need a little chemical lab in your home to do it.
The police get a bit suspicious about that.
They've really taken the Nespresso model where you can make beer through capsules. So 3 capsules to brew your own beer. It takes 2 weeks to actually brew and ferment and things like that. But then you've got 5 litres of beer chilled and ready to go on tap. So for me, it looks great. I hope it works. They've partnered with Muntons in the UK to actually get a real brewer experience. 5 different flavours. I want one.
That is a great name, Muntons. Getting munted with Muntons. Somebody's really thought that through.
They've been around for a long time, that company, so where they come up with that name, I have no idea.
Maybe that's where munted comes from. Maybe they inspired the word.
We've just figured that out.
So I don't know much about brewing beer, but I get the impression that people who brew their own beer like to take the time and adjust it and get it just right. I'm wondering if it's based on capsules. I know they have 5 different, flavours is probably not the word, 5 different types of beer. You can go for like a wheat beer and a stout or whatever. But do you think that people maybe want a bit more granular control considering it's a homebrew and not something they're buying off the shelf?
Look, potentially, and that may become a version 2 or something like that. In the same way we saw Nespresso machines initially just be short and long black, now you've got ways that you can actually tweak it a little bit. So maybe they'll do that and LG will add options to customize. But I think if you're a real home brewer, you don't want this machine. But if you've got an interest in making your own beer but didn't want to do the home brewing, that's where this one comes in. It's easy.
So, Fergus, we're talking crazy, we're talking out there. What have you seen?
So I'm sort of cheating a bit here. It's more like a development that's come out at the CES that I think personally is crazy. Is that to my genuine surprise, announced on I believe the Saturday or the Sunday at the NVIDIA press conference was that they're already rolling out RTX graphics card enabled laptops, which is absolutely insane given the price and the thermals and the performance that they have in those cards. And especially given the timing that I believe they only just announced those cards back in October or September. And it's unbelievable that like the OEMs have been able to move so fast and actually incorporate these new graphics cards.
So for those of us who don't follow graphics cards that closely, what's so impressive about RTX?
RTX, their main sort of draw is this technology called ray tracing, which allows for more accurate and dynamic lighting simulation, which sounds very sort of numbery and vague. But basically in traditional like gaming experience is the main benchmark that they use for this. But like if you saw a car in a gaming in like a video game, the side of the car is just gonna, even if it's made of metal or a reflective material, the side of the car will just be the color it is. But with ray tracing enabled, that material on the car will now reflect accurately the light in the same way that it would in the real world. So you can like look in the reflection of something and see something, and like. That sounds kind of small and minute if you're not necessarily engaged with the gaming scene, but it's like unbelievably complex on a mathematical level, and it is unbelievable. First of all, that they actually built consumer grade cards that can do that at all, and then also now miniaturizing them for laptops is absolutely crazy to me. Yeah, that's probably one of my biggest surprises. I expected a quieter CES from Nvidia, and I got like blown away.
Speaking of overkill, we're also talking about 8K televisions. We've got, I think it's LG, Samsung, Sony, and TCL all saying that they are definitely bringing 8K televisions to Australia this year, even though there is stuff all to watch and we don't know when there will be. Emily, is this are they answering a question that no one ever asked?
To be honest, it's something that I don't think is necessary. I always thought 4K was pretty good. But I've got to be honest, when I have been on the stands and they've done comparisons between the 4K and the 8K, there is actually a bit of difference. But I think to, everyday consumer, I don't think that you're really going to see the difference in your living room unless, you're one to sit on your couch for most part of the day. Even then,
hey, you say that like it's a bad thing.
Not a bad thing, but it probably is a bit crazy because I didn't think there was any need to go past 4K.
What have 4K television sales been like in Australia? Because when 4K first came out, we'd said the same thing. You don't need one, there's nothing to watch. That's now changed. What sort of trajectory might 8K take based on what 4K's done?
Well, if it is anything like 4K, then I am eating my own words because 8K then will take off, particularly once the content becomes available, because that is the biggest issue at the moment. But definitely 4K TV sales, from what I've heard, have been doing very well and continue to do well. So who knows, 8K might take on that same path.
And so how do we think we're likely to get the content? I've asked manufacturers if they think we'll see 8K disc players. They say probably not. So is it going to be a Netflix or an Amazon, Jeff?
Look, if it's going to be a Netflix, it means where's the bandwidth?
Yes.
That's going to be a huge
This is Australia, people.
Yeah, I mean, for Australia especially. I mean, I think Netflix were one of the first ones to actually provide real 4K content that we could really enjoy on our televisions. So they may be the ones who do 8K first, but we need cameras to be able to film in 8K as well. So there's a lot of things that need to happen. Yes, we've got the TVs to watch them on, but we need to film it, we need to edit, and we need to get it to the television in a reasonable way. So there's a long way to go, but yes, it's nice to have the latest technology if you can use it.
It is encouraging that Samsung said they're working with Amazon already to, as in Amazon streaming, to work on 8K codecs to try and get a reasonable performance. So it could be that, you would assume it would be Amazon and Netflix, but it could be actually Amazon that gets there first. And in Australia, like, Amazon's never been as great as they are here in the US, but they are starting to come around. So Fergus, where do you think we'll see the first 8K content from in Australia?
I think Amazon is probably a smart bet, but also like Netflix, they're kind of on the top of the streaming world at the moment, and I don't think they're going to like give up that throne without a fight. So I wouldn't be that surprised if they beat Amazon to it, just because they know when to flex, and this is one of those times. But also, Amazon is extremely hungry to try and like take a bite out of Netflix's dominance in that area. So like, just if you look at the amount of like money and investment that they're putting into their streaming services, it would not surprise me if somehow they managed to beat Netflix, but my money would still be on Netflix at the moment. The other thing to keep in mind is that sort of what we're seeing at 8K, what we're seeing at CES this year is sort of like the first showing of 8K, in the same way that where OLED was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where it was like this thing where you see it and it looks incredible and you're like, wow, that's amazing. Who's going to buy this? How much is it going to cost? Is it really going to be worth it? But nowadays you can sort of pick up an OLED for $1.5, maybe $2.5 grand, and it's a lot more affordable, and like the advantages are a lot clearer. So hopefully this is only the start of 8K, and given time, it will actually mature and become a bit more affordable and viable of a proposition for most consumers, not just super rich in hotels.
Now, speaking of OLED, Samsung's also showing off their kind of equivalent to OLED, which is micro LED. And like OLED, it has no backlight. Instead, each individual pixel lights up to create the colors. But it has the benefit of it's actually LED light, so it can be brighter than OLED. So in theory, it could actually out OLED, which would be pretty impressive considering how good OLED is. But Samsung's been incredibly light on details. It's supposedly a modular design, so they can clip it together. They don't know how big the modules will be. They don't know whether you'll be able to put them together yourself or whether you'll need an installer. They don't know when these televisions are going to go on sale or what they're going to cost. It really is, I mean, it's not a concept because it's on the wall, but they don't have a lot more to say. Now, Emily, you've seen how appliances work and it takes time to come into the market. Considering OLED's dominance, how long is it going to be before your average punter really needs to take micro LED into the consideration?
I would say that for a consumer, we won't really see micro LED take off until at least 2020. But in terms of a takeover from OLED, I would give it about 5 years.
Yeah, and the other thing was that Samsung said that they were actually going to start with business customers first, so more, selling it to a big company to put it up in the foyer or something like that. So that, again, is going to slow down the consumer take-up even more.
Yes, exactly.
The other thing to remember as well is that Hisense is also investigating micro LED.
Oh, okay, so that will give them some... And do they make their own panels, or they wouldn't be taking Samsung's panel?
No, I believe they're making their own panels. They have a display up at their stand of it, but it's very interesting just to see how, rather than with OLED, where LG was sort of like the front runner, and then only after it had really started to take off did you see Sony and Panasonic and all these other companies sort of pick up on that.
And they all use LG's panels anyway.
True. But it's very interesting to see more than one company sort of try and skip OLED in a way and go straight to micro LED.
Great, well that about wraps it up for another CES special from Vertical Hold. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks to Jeff for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Fergus.
No worries.
Emily.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening. And remember, if you like what you hear, hit that subscribe button and tell your friends. Vertical Hold, Behind the Tech News, is proudly brought to you by Belkin. Right, so here we are. She's like, thank God I made it. No, this is only half time. Around about this time, I like to have a pot noodle.